Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Hoopers Lounge podcast. And guys, we are so back. The NBA season is tipped off. It is hot and running. We have already had some incredible games. Most teams have played two games at this point of the season. A few have played three. But now is the best time of the year because we can overreact to small sample sizes and draw conclusions that are not going to happen by the end of the year. It's great. It's fun and we're going to have some very bad takes today, admittedly. So, Max, I'll start off with a question for you. We just had our episodes ranking our teams, our seedings predictions. What team are you higher on after two games than you were initially in your seedings, and what team are you lower on?
Yeah, so I'll get to the positive side first, and Alex is going to be very happy to hear this. But I'm a little higher on the Spurs than I think I should have been heading into the season, and I'll admit that. All right, I don't want to say I was wrong about the Spurs, but I wasn't as high on them as Alex was, and they look like a very well-rounded team right now. My biggest fear with the Spurs heading into the season was their coaching problems. Losing Popovich, that was my biggest concern. But the interim coach, who's now the full time head coach, has stepped right in. And I saw a clip the other day of his intensity on the bench, and he's been great so far. Wembenyama is amazing, solidifying himself as a top 10 player in the league right now. And I forgot just how good Stefan Castle is. He looked amazing against Dallas. I watched the their opener against Dallas. He looked amazing. And you know who also looked amazing? Harrison Barnes, who I said look out for. He's been balling so far to start the season, so do not sleep on Barnes. I like that they're bringing Dylan Harper off the bench, and I'm really excited to see what they look like when De'Aaron Fox gets back. So I really do like the Spurs. I think they could finish as a top six seed in the West if they keep playing like this and they stay healthy, because they are very exciting, and Wemby is Wemby. A team that I'm lower on, and I kind of alluded to this all offseason, and that's Orlando. They've had a really rough start to the season, in my opinion, especially Paolo Banchero. That second game he had in their first loss, he looked terrible. He did not have a good stat night, and even on nights where he doesn't score, he still pitches in assists and rebounds to help the team in other ways, but he just looked unengaged in that game in which they lost, and that's a little bit concerning. I did expect them to start slow because of the new piece in Desmond Bain, but I thought the excitement around their team would allow them to at least look better, if not. And then I'll throw another one out there. Minnesota is another team that I'm a little concerned with right now. One of my takeaways after the first week is that if they want to contend in a loaded Western Conference this year, I think they need to make a move at the deadline to help out Anthony Edwards, because I just don't think the current roster is good enough to compete in the West with what I've seen from them. They almost lost to Portland in their first game, and then they just got smoked by the Lakers without LeBron. So I really do think that Minnesota is a team to look out for at the deadline, because I think that's their best chance of competing for a championship this year.
Spurs top six seed. Wemby is just Wemby. Wow, you're sounding a lot like me right now. That's crazy. I don't want to say I called it over here, but I'm just going to say even we still might be underestimating the Spurs and Wembanyama. Wemby has done a lot more than assert himself as a top 10 player. I think he's asserted himself as a top player. I mean, we've already had some showings. We've had Shea putting up 55 points. We have Luka scoring in 40 both games. Jokic hitting a triple double both games. Steph hitting some incredibly clutch shots. But I still don't think you can make a case for anybody having as much impact on the games as Wembanyama does, at least in these first two games. The impact he has on both sides of the floor is going to carry the Spurs the rest of the year. And again, I am really excited to see what they look like when they get their All-Star De'Aaron Fox back. I actually have the Spurs as my team that I think is going to finish higher than what I predicted, and I was high on the Spurs. I I truly think this team, Wemby is truly just game breaking. I don't care about the inexperience of this team. When you have somebody that is that game breaking on both ends of the floor, you have the capability to beat anybody. Wemby is already that talented that he can carry his team past anybody come playoff time. I'm excited to see what playoff Wemby looks like. Team that I'm lower on, and this is the team that you are high on, is the Dallas Mavericks. And wow, am I uber concerned with the Dallas Mavericks. First of all, we're going to talk about that Spurs Dallas game because that was a nationally televised game that I'm sure a lot of people saw. Anthony Davis was talked about as a borderline fringe top 10 player still at this point in his career. When we were debating Wembanyama versus Anthony Davis, I think we came to the conclusion that yes, at this point we would still take AD over Wemby. Yeah, not anymore. All it took was 1 quarter of basketball to disprove that because Wembanyama had his absolute. He did whatever he wanted against Anthony Davis. Finished with 40 points on 15 to 21 shooting. By the way, this wasn't an abnormal game for him either. He only made 1 3. He only had 3 blocks, right? This wasn't some spectacular stuff the entire box score night for Wembanyama. So what did he do in the second game? Oh, nothing crazy, just 9 blocks, which easily could have been 11 blocks. Nothing absurd. Anyways, back to Wembanyama, or sorry, back to Anthony Davis. He got shredded by Wembanyama, and then in the second game, Mavericks actually lost to what many people believe was going to be the worst team in the league, in the Washington Wizards. And this game wasn't particularly close, and we still saw Anthony Davis kind of getting manhandled in the paint by Alex Sarr. Excuse me. But Alex Sarr should not be handling a borderline top 10 player in the paint. And that has me really concerned about Anthony Davis's decline. I mean, I think we're already in the midst of seeing him decline. And with AD declining, Kyrie still out, Cooper Flag has, I'm not going to say underperformed because, I mean, he's a rookie. He's still putting up double-digit points a game. But compared to the expectations that he had preseason, he has underperformed relative to those. And if Dallas does not start winning games soon, if they don't have a winning record by the All-Star break, there's a chance they don't bring Kyrie back and they just say, screw it, we'll go for another chance at the lottery.
Yeah, Dallas is another team that I forgot to mention earlier. I'm definitely a little lower on them than I was heading into the season. But do you remember that conversation I had with you a couple weeks ago about Cooper Flag should play the 5 or the 4? Mm-hmm. Jason Kidd put him at the 1. He's playing the 1. I told you that the 2 big lineup with Cooper Flag at the 3 was bad shooting, and they rolled that out 2 games in a row, and they've struggled to score. So I think that coaching-wise, they have set up Cooper Flag, not for failure, but they haven't put him in the best position right now in the first 2 games. I think he needs to play his natural position of forward, and you brought in D'Angelo Russell for a reason. Start him at the point guard. Like, he's not a bum. Like, he's not great. He's not an all-star, but he plays point guard for a living. Put him in the game. Let him pass the ball to these guys, and I think they will be a lot better. I'm not really worried about Dallas because I still had them as a play-in team, and I think they will end up there. However, it is concerning the Anthony Davis thing. I think, again, he's not fully healthy. He may never be 100% with the amount of injuries he's had in his career, and he is getting older. And there will be nights where Anthony Davis dominates people, but I just don't think we're going to see that every single night. And as for the Wembanyama matchup, Wemby's going to be a bad matchup for anyone that guards him, so I don't really hold that against Anthony Davis. But the Wizards game, very concerning for me.
Yeah. I do want to ask a question. Do you still feel good about your Cooper Flag Rookie of the Year take after the first 2 games of the Maverick season?
Yeah, because I think the NBA wants him to win the award. He's being advertised as the Mavericks' best player on all of the graphics. When you watch national broadcast games and they have Dallas, they have his face next to the logo. I mean, the league clearly wants to promote this kid, and I think he has a huge step up. Now, he does need to play better to win the award. I'm not disputing that. If he doesn't play better, he's not going to win. But I think that if he plays up to the level he's capable of, the NBA will vote for him, and players and coaches will vote for him. I still think his 2-way impact will help him win the award. But ask me that question in a couple more months, and my answer may change.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. I think the narrative is set up for Flag to take home the award. Narratives do play, as unfortunate as this is, narratives do play a role at the end of the year awards. It's a big part of the reason why LeBron James only has 4 MVPs instead of 8. But yeah, Cooper Flag came into the season with a lot of hype. He's expected to be this prodigy on the basketball court, the most talented American prospect since Zion. And as of thus far, he has not looked the part. I mean, he's made the right plays. He's been a team first player, but he notably had a lot of turnovers while handling the ball against the Spurs. I didn't see the Mavericks second game live. It was only box score watching. But Flag got stripped on numerous occasions by the Spurs guards. And I agree with you. point guard is notoriously the hardest position to make that jump from college to the NBA from. In terms of reading the floor, just running the offense, it takes point guards typically a few more years than it does big men to make that transition. So putting somebody whose natural position is forward in that point guard spot as a rookie, you're exactly right. You're setting this player up for lesser for not for disappointment, but for lesser success than he would have in his normal position. I agree with you. Flag should not be running the offense right now. Uber talented player, yes, and maybe in a few years down the road he'll be capable of it. But his first two games in his rookie year against NBA competition, yeah, I think that is too much responsibility for the 19, 18-year-old to handle.
Especially when you brought in D'Angelo Russell to fill the void of Kyrie. Like
Exactly.
when Kyrie comes back, is Flag still going to be your point guard? No. So why is he getting point guard minutes now? I don't understand the logic behind it, unless maybe they know Kyrie's not coming back this year. I mean that might be a thing, but and they're trying to just get him as many reps as possible, so that way at the end of the year he's their starting point guard. But I just don't. You can't sit up and tell your fans that you're giving your team the best chance to win by putting your number one overall pick out of his position. That just doesn't make sense to me.
All right, let's move on from Dallas, and I want to talk about a team who. Well, first of all, you're gonna love to hear this. I was low on this team. I had them as a play-in team on my predictions, but now I believe they biggest threat to repeat in the Western Conference, and that is the Golden State Warriors. I was not too high on this team. I thought their age of the big three on the Warriors is going to play a factor. But wow, they have impressed me a lot the first two games. Curry once again is doing Stephen Curry things. Who, by the way, he has 7 steals in 3 games. He is second in the league in stocks behind Wembanyama. So Curry is making an impact on both sides of the floor right now, which I think we can shout out Jimmy Butler for that. The intensity that Jimmy Butler brings to the floor, like that first game, the Warriors would have lost that game without Jimmy Butler in his ability to drive in the paint and get to the free throw line. I did not think he would be that much of a factor in the Warriors' offense, but he has given them a completely new option to defend, a completely new thing for opposing defenses to worry about. Draymond is still Draymond. He'll be an offensive facilitator. He'll be a defensive menace. He'll be an absolute pest. I'm pretty sure he got a technical within like 5 minutes of his first game or something like that.
Oh yeah.
But the Warriors are still going to be the Warriors, and yes, health is still a concern for me with this team just because of age. But if this team can stay healthy, watch out for the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, a lot of people coming into the season forgot that Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy, when they played together last year, were 27-8 against the entire league. And these guys together have some seriously good chemistry. Again, all three of them are at least making an effort on both sides of the court. No matter what you want to say about Steph's defense or Draymond's offense, they make an effort to make the guys around them better on both sides of the court. And the signing of Al Horford is huge for defense. He's been amazing so far. I really like what I've seen out of Buddy Hield so far. Now, Buddy Hield did do the same thing last year where he started the season red hot, and I thought he was the second coming of Klay Thompson. And then he kind of went back to average Buddy the rest of the year. So I need to see that, sustained, but I really like what I'm seeing out of Buddy Hield. Kuminga looks like he's taken a little bit of a next step. And the Warriors, I mean, say what you want about Steve Kerr, he's carried by his players, whatever. He is a great coach, and he's going to get the most out of these guys. And the nice thing about this team is the goal is crystal clear. Everyone in the locker room has one goal, and that's the championship. They don't care about stats. They don't care about all-star appearances. They don't care about MVPs. They're going for the championship. And I think that unity and the one-goal mindset is really going to help Golden State throughout the year. Just stay focused and locked in on the championship.
Okay, when you have Stephen Curry on the floor, I mean, your team is always going to be in competition. They're always going to be competitive. Let's move on to the Eastern Conference a little bit, because aside from your Orlando mention at the beginning, we have stayed completely in the more interesting conference. But Eastern Conference, one team I want to mention is my favorite team, Milwaukee Bucks, and specifically Giannis, because the carry job that Giannis has done in the first 2 games is incredible. He's averaging a 30-point near triple-double. This is a player who's never averaged more than six assists in a season throughout his career, and he's now averaging close to 10. That leap he took is exactly what the Bucks needed to see. They said in the offseason, we're handing the keys to Giannis. He's going to have full reign of the offense, and we're going to live and die by it. Well, right now, the Bucks are 2-0 and living by it. Yes, they haven't played the strongest competition. Their first game was against the Wizards. I don't remember who their second game was against, but it wasn't a playoff team. Regardless, Giannis has looked outstanding. If he can carry this production for the rest of the year and the Bucks finish as a playoff team, Giannis will win MVP because you cannot make a case that anybody in the league is more important to his team than Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, Milwaukee again, carry job is just a great way to describe what Giannis is doing up there right now. I mean, his performance the first two games has been nothing short of spectacular, and they're about exactly what I expected them to be. Giannis is going to help them win games that they otherwise shouldn't be winning, but they're not good enough to win a championship. So they're kind of exactly what I expected heading into this season. Another team in the East I want to talk about is my sleeper in the playoffs, and that's Philadelphia. I'm telling you, if VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey can carry the slack until Joel Embiid gets fully healthy, I'm telling you, this team is legit. And they don't even have Paul George back yet. I mean, this team is really good. And again, the key word is if healthy. But if they're healthy, they have maybe the best team in the Eastern Conference. I really like what I've seen out of Philadelphia the first two games. Embiid looked a little better last night against the Hornets. Put together a much better game than the opener against Boston. And again, the guards, one of my main takeaways was that the Sixers guards being the focal point of their offense, I think is really helpful for not only them as a whole, but Embiid. You don't have to put all that pressure on Embiid and his body to score 35 points a night in the regular season. Let's save that for the playoffs, right? Let's save that. Let's save our best player for the playoffs. Let's let the young guys go out there and wear themselves out a little bit in the regular season. And I think that's worked perfectly for Philadelphia just 2 games into the season.
Yeah, let's talk about VJ Edgecombe for a little bit. My rookie of the year prediction, and his first game, VJ Edgecombe scored 35 points, which was an NBA record of some sort. Right? Was it the NBA record for most points in a debut? It was something
Maybe.
of the sort. Regardless, it was a truly outstanding performance that only made me more confident in a take that Max considered to be a pretty bold one. Edgecombe right now is already better than Jared McCain, and he should be starting the rest of the year, even when McCain comes back from injury. I hope the Sixers do that. I hope, like, they do still have injuries. McCain and Paul George are going to come back and make this team even better. And I hope they find a way to keep Edgecombe in that starting lineup because he is an absolute game changer for the Sixers. Tyrese Maxey is doing Tyrese Maxey things. He put up 40 points in that opener. And after absolutely shitting the bed in the opener against the Celtics, Joel Embiid did look much better against the Hornets. Granted, the Hornets do have probably the worst the worst center rotation in the NBA. I mean, I'm sorry, Ryan Kalkbrenner is not going to lock down Joel Embiid. But with that being said, like you said, if the Sixers can run their offense through their guards, through an all-star in Maxey and a rising star in Edgecombe, through who I expect to be a good six-man in Jared McCain, this team will look scary. And Embiid, I mean, he just scored 20 points in 20 minutes. When in his MVP season, he was scoring the exact amount of points he was playing minutes per game, which was elite. If he can do that in the playoffs, I mean, 2020 is nothing special. That's bench player numbers. But if he can do that in the playoffs, when I'm sure he'll be playing 32, 35 minutes a game, yeah, the Sixers team looks a lot scarier. They're 2-0 right now. Edgecombe's looking great. This Sixers fans are looking a lot happier than they were to start the season.
Yeah, and I just can't imagine what coaches are doing come playoff time, game planning for this team if they're fully loaded. I think you're going to have a hard time guarding 1 through 5 this roster. It's one of the more talented teams offensively in the league, in my opinion, and I think that can carry them a long way, especially in a weaker Eastern Conference this season. A couple more teams I wanted to talk about here are the 2 teams that made it to the finals last year, the Thunder and the Pacers, who put together an absolute instant classic the other night in their double overtime thriller. I want to start with my most improved player pick, and that was Andrew Nembhard, who unfortunately got hurt in that game. I don't know exactly his status, but I'm hoping that he gets back healthy so he can, ball out as I expect him to. And speaking of most improved players, I want to talk about a guy that I was heavily critical of in the offseason, and that is Chet Holmgren, who through the first couple of games without Jalen Williams has really stepped up into the number two option role. I believe he had 30 opening night against Houston. I could be wrong about that, but I know he just dropped 30 last night against Atlanta. And in the game against Indiana, he was very good as well. We know what he brings defensively, but we all had questions about offensively. He has taken a next step clearly, and I think Chet has officially thrown his name in the hat of most improved player this season. I think he can be an all-star this year if he keeps this up, and he may be taking J-Dub's spot as the second best player on the Thunder. Again, we'll see what J-Dub looks like when he comes back, but Chet's been very impressive to me in the first week.
I looked up Nemhard's injury status. The first thing that comes up is that Coach Carlisle provides no timeline on the injury. So it's a shoulder injury. I don't know if this is a short-term or a long-term thing, but yeah, hopefully Nemhard can get back and be balling because the Pacers are going to need his offensive contributions. And Chet Holmgren, great take on your end, great observation because Chet, even though Oklahoma won the finals, he was receiving a lot of just hate because of his performances. The Thunder won the finals almost in spite of Chet Holmgren and not because of anything he was contributing. He was just given that 5-year, $200 million plus extension. So there was a lot of pressure on him going into the season. Is he going to perform? Is he going to show he's worthy of that huge contract? Or did the Thunder just pay a mediocre center a supermax deal? Well, this version of Chet Holmgren that we've seen in 2 days is more than worthy of that supermax deal. I think he had 27 against the Celtics, if I remember correctly, and then he had 31 in his most recent game. Or not against the Celtics, sorry. In the Thunder's first game. I am blanking on whoever they played, but it was a double overtime game. By the way, Thunder, first team in NBA history to have their first 2 games come down to double overtime. Cool factoid there. But Chet has thrown his name into the most improved player conversation in his first 2 games. And again, we are overreacting. We're 2 games into the season. A lot more can change, especially in the most improved player voting. But Chet has positioned himself to have a career year. With Jalen Williams out the first couple weeks of the season, Chet should have plenty of time to establish himself as a solid number 2 option behind Shai. He could play his way into all-star consideration. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Pros and cons to his first 2 games. Pros, he dropped 55 points against the Pacers. Cons, that came with 27 free throws. And Shai in his first 2 games set the NBA record for the most free throws taken or attempted in the first 2 games. And that is why so many people just cannot stand watching Shai play basketball. There's a lot of foul baiting going on, reminiscent of a young Trae Young. And it's very frustrating for casual fans to watch Thunder basketball because there's a joke whenever you turn on the Thunder game, you're going to see Shai at the line. And that's just something that's going to be interesting to see if that narrative continues throughout the season, if Shai's going to continue to receive negative comments about his game because he gets to the line. That's just something I want to follow on.
Yeah, I don't want to take anything away from Shai. I think the master of foul baiting was James Harden back in his MVP days. He was the best at it. And he put up video game-like numbers because he was able to draw fouls better than anybody else in the league. So I don't want to take – it is a skill in the NBA, and I don't want to take that away from Shai. But that doesn't make it any easier to watch. And I think that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander right now gets the most favorable whistle of any player in the league.
Agreed.
And it is not really close.
Agreed.
And as a Warriors fan, I watch Steph Curry, and I know people are going to say he doesn't get fouled because all he does is shoot jump shots. But that guy gets mauled on jump
Steph's
shots.
Whistle is awful.
Steph's whistle is so bad. And when I watch Shai play, I just think that teams are guarding Shai just as physically as they guard a guy like Steph or Luka or Cade Cunningham, for example, coming up, or Brunson. All the elite guards that just get hounded 94 feet by the Lou Dorts and the Patrick Beverleys of the NBA, right? All those players that hound these guards 24/7 and just get no help from the officials because as soon as like your neck snaps back, it's a foul. I don't really like it. I think the NBA, again, points are what they want. They want high-scoring games, but they also want fast-paced games. They want the clock to keep moving. They want, threes. They want transition dunks. They want blocks. They don't want 27 free throws by one player. And I think that Shai is not going to change his game. I don't think he should. He won an MVP and a championship playing this way. So I don't expect him to change anytime soon. But I hope the officials allow the defenders more freedom in guarding someone that good, because it's truly astonishing like how many times he gets fouled. And some of them are fouls. Like, I'll give him credit. His pump fake is very good, gets defenders in the air. That's a foul every time. But when he's just driving by with someone on his hip and he cocks his head back and they call that for a foul, it's just extremely frustrating to watch. And it's not Shea's fault. I blame the officials for that. I blame them for not, watching film and knowing that, all right, when number 2 drives and he does that, like, everyone knows what I'm talking about. When he just decides to throw his head back and his shoulders back like he's getting mauled by a grizzly bear,
Mhm.
the referees need to know that that's not enough contact for a foul. And it's frustrating because it seems like he's one of the only players, if not the only player, that consistently gets that call every night.
Him and Brunson are absolutely notorious for that. That throwing their head back whenever they feel the slightest amount of contact when they have a defender on their hip, and it is so aggravating as a fan to watch. And Shea also has a bunch of clips where he's using his offhand to grab the defender's arm and kind of throw it into a shooting arm. There's nothing the defender can do about that. The offensive player is grabbing your arm, and yet you're being called for the foul. It's incredibly frustrating for fans to watch, and I can't imagine how incredibly frustrating it is for defenders to defend. Yes, like you said, foul baiting is a skill. Shea is among the best at it, if not the best at it, currently in the league. But there comes a certain point where the refs have to take some accountability. They're calling incredibly soft fouls that they're not giving other players in the league. And I hope Adam Silver makes it a point of emphasis this offseason to kind of not take it away because it is a skill, but negate the impact that players like Shea and Brunson can have on the game by acting in a way.
Do you remember? I think this was a couple seasons ago when the NBA made flopping a foul, like on
Mm-hmm.
charges or blocks or whatever. I think they should do something similar to this, where if a offensive player is intentionally trying to sell a call, I think that could be considered a flop. And I think it should be thrown into the same criteria as flopping on a rebound or flopping on that. And I think it's hard to enforce. Like, it's going to take some instant replay and it's going to take some fine tuning of the rules. But I think if you throw that play into that, I hope that that would make a little bit of a difference. That's the one thing I can think of if they were going to make significant changes. Because I still don't think you should get, like, Shea should not be, it's not an offensive foul when he cocks his head back. Like, he should not be punished for that. But
Mm-hmm.
also, he shouldn't be getting 2 free throws for it either every time. So
Exactly.
we have to find some sort of middle ground, in my opinion. And it all starts with Adam Silver, like you said. He needs to make a change to the rules because it's hard to watch. It's really hard to watch.
And I mean, when you look back at Prime Harden, nobody really thinks about his foul baiting. They think about his step back jump shot, right? So I think half a decade down the road, when we look back at this time in Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's career, we're not going to think about his foul baiting. We're going to think about, I don't know, his insane creativity, his herky jerky dribbling style that makes it so hard to stay in front of him. So I do think that this isn't going to be the narrative of Shea's career, or at least I hope not, because for an all-time talent like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, for his career story to be, oh, he's a free throw merchant, that would be a very unfortunate way for Shea to be known as. Something I want to talk about, and this is probably the biggest piece of news in the NBA. I wanted to start the episode with this, but I was too excited to talk about on the court things. The biggest piece of news happened arguably off the court when it was reported Friday morning that current active Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier and Portland Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups were arrested by the FBI, indicted on gambling schemes. Rozier was indicted. These were two separate instances, first of all. There were 39 individuals arrested in this case, among them Rozier, Billups, and former Cleveland Cavaliers player Damon Jones. Rozier was allegedly providing insider information about his team to his friends and sports bettors about how much minutes he's going to be playing, about what nights they should take the unders. Chauncey Billups is a lot more serious. He was allegedly involved with the mafia, performing running an illegal poker ring that included like X-ray vision on the tables and like card stacking and magnets. I don't know. Billups is it's some major shit, safe to say. But this scandal has absolutely rocked the NBA. in the most recent days. So, Max, I want to hear your thoughts about this scandal because this has been the biggest news story and kind of a black cloud hanging over the NBA as it's tipping off its season.
Yeah, I mean, I want to wait for more details to come out before I, make any accusations or anything, but it's pretty
Yeah, it's all
serious.
alleged. All alleged.
Yeah, this is pretty serious, though. An illegal poker ring with the mafia seems like a pretty serious hole to dig yourself out of. And this isn't just the head coach. This is an NBA legend in Chauncey Billups, who before his time as a coach was one of the best guards to ever play basketball. So that to me, it hurts the reputation of the league. It hurts the reputation of the Portland Trailblazers, and most most definitely it hurts the reputation of Chauncey Billups and his legacy as not only a coach, but as the great player that he was. Terry Rozier, on the other hand, this seems like a Jonte Porter type situation where he's just going to be probably banned for life from the NBA. I don't imagine. It depends how much money's involved, obviously, but it reminds me very much of what happened with Jonte Porter. The only difference is that, Terry Rozier much more, you know, how do I put this? Much more defined career, much more accomplished career, and
He's a more relevant NBA player than Johnson Porter.
yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what the FBI decides to do with Terry Rozier. And as far as I'm concerned, Billups and Rozier had nothing to do with each other. This was like two separate instances. And so, like, Rozier is not involved in the poker ring, and Billups is not involved in the insider trading with Rozier. Two totally separate things. They just happened to be arrested, and the FBI I've seen on the news has said that the case is still open. So I'm sure they're still investigating. Obviously, more people could be arrested for things like this, but I just think it hurts the league as a whole when two players that a former player who's a legend and a current player that most people have probably heard of. It's sad to see this type of stuff happening, and I'm interested to see how it affects the sports betting regulations around not only the NBA but other sports as well. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I hope it's not true, but everything is pointing to this being a very serious situation, and I expect both Billups and Rozier to be banned from the NBA for the remainder of their lives.
They were two separate instances, but Billups was also accused of providing insider information about his Portland Trailblazers roster to other people. Billups is obviously on interim leave, suspended, and Tiago Splitter is the Portland Trailblazers interim head coach, which I find interesting. Former Spurs center during the Spurs Big Three era. Glad to see him making his way back into the NBA, even though it comes under these unfortunate circumstances. But here are my thoughts about this. Sports work in general because everybody involved believes that it is fair. They believe that any team on any given night has a chance to win. It doesn't matter if you have the 0-16 Cleveland Browns against the 16-0 New England Patriots, right? Complete mismatch on paper, but that's why you play the game because anything can happen and the game will be played out fair and we will determine a winner on the field. This is why I don't like sports gambling because it takes away it introduces the concept of rigging the games, of making it unfair, of certain teams calls, of certain players not getting the minutes they deserve. And when the integrity of your league is at stake and it is jeopardized, as it is in a case like this, it can do some serious, serious damage. If fans start to believe that the NBA games are played out in a certain way for certain players to do good, for certain teams to do good, you are going to lose a lot of fans. And I'm not saying this is the case. I mean, this is. I hope to God this is not the case as an NBA fan. But again, I don't think this is the case. I think the NBA wants to keep its teams fair, and it's certain players and individuals in that are getting involved and potentially rooting things. But really bad look for the league to have its integrity of the sport questioned. And yeah, I hope it is going to be more serious. There are going to be more details in released. There are going to probably be more people arrested. One thing I do want to say, Malik Beasley was looked into for gambling indictments over the offseason. He was not arrested, nor was a name mentioned at all in this case. So Yeah, Malik Beasley might be in the clear in terms of whatever he was investigated for, and yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Again, we will obviously talk about this more as we get more details. This is a very serious story that will probably be weaved through the NBA throughout the season. So, with that being said, we're going to transition into our closing segment for today's episode where Alex will be blind ranking his top 5 performances so far through the NBA season. We've seen some incredible individual performances from guys on winning teams, guys on losing teams, just putting up stupid numbers to start the year. And I decided to put together 5 just to keep Alex guessing because there's so many to choose from. And these were just handpicked from me. These are all top tier performances. I didn't pick any like 0 for 7 shooting nights. I didn't pick any. These are all like
Okay,
incredible.
yeah, I was about to ask that.
No, these are all incredible performances. So it'll be interesting to see how Alex values each performance. All right. So first up, we have Giannis's 30-point, 20 rebound game against Toronto, where he also pitched in 7 assists and a block.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about Giannis earlier this episode. The carry job that he has done in the first 2 games has been truly phenomenal, and is the only, and is what he's going to have to do the rest of the year for the Bucks to stay in contention. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the official stat line now: 30 points, 20 rebounds, 7 assists, 11 of 14 shooting. By the way, that's over 80% shooting from the field, making 2 out of 2 3-pointers. Giannis, absolutely no sharpshooter, and also having a block. Looking at his stat line, he was a plus 18 in the plus minus category, but he did have 5 turnovers. When you're handling the ball that much, though, I don't really think that's that much of a knock. I mean, Russell Westbrook in his MVP year was also known for having lots of turnovers. Um, as great as a performance as this is, we've had multiple 40-point campaigns. We've had a 50-point campaign. Wembanyama's had a 9-block campaign, and if we get any of those, I'm going to have to rank him over. Yeah, this is an incredible game, but for Giannis' standards, this is just another ordinary game. This wasn't out of the order. This is typical Giannis. This is what Giannis is going to have to do game in and game out. So I'm going to put him middle of the pack at the. I take it back. I'm going to put him at 4.
Okay. All right, Giannis at 4. 20 rebounds as a typical game is absolutely obscene. But
okay. Sorry, not the typical game, but it's not unheard of. I mean, Giannis has usually 10 to 15, 20 rebound games a year.
Yeah, but
this isn't like Josh Hart getting 20 rebounds.
And it's crazy that
we're talking about.
Yeah, that's crazy that when you look at Giannis, you just expect him to get 15 to 20 rebounds. Like that's obscene to me. That's just crazy.
The fact that it's done that year in and year out for the last half decade. Giannis's career has become so underrated. It is truly incredible how consistent he has been.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Luka's most recent 49-point, 11 rebound, 8 assist game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. That was an insane carry job. He put up 23 in the first quarter.
Well, and Luka is truly the only reason the Lakers are one and run right now. He's put up 40 in both of his games, including, like you said, that 49-point masterpiece. If Wembanyama is not the MVP right now, it is Luka Doncic. It is one of the two, and I don't think you can make a case for anybody else. The stars those two have gone out to begin the year is spectacular. 49-point near triple double. What were the shooting percentages if you have them up?
I don't have them up, but I can look real quick. I'm pretty sure he shot lights out. I'm pretty sure he shot lights out. I mean, it was insane. Just crazy numbers he was putting up. All right, I've got it right here.
Yeah,
so,
and it's classic Luka Doncic, right? It's like it's crazy numbers, but for Luka, I mean, I've seen this man put up 73. I mean, 49 is incredible, but it's still like.
We were getting on Shea for free throws. How many free throws do you think Luka shot in this game?
Well, I'm looking at it right now, so
bit of a
spoiler right now. But 19 free throws.
That's a lot. That's a lot of free throws. Yeah. That's a lot.
And Luka is also a known foul baiter. I mean, I don't think he's at the extent of Shea or Prime Harden, but Luka has gotten some criticism throughout his career for also foul baiting and jumping into contact instead of trying to find a clean bucket.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but still, I mean, he was also plus 18, the highest on the team. Except Marcus Smart came off the bench and was plus 24. But wow, I'm going to put this at two. I think there were two other performances that I can remember this year that were better, and I think I'm going to get one of them. So I'm going to put Luka's 49-point game at number two.
All right, coming up next is a surprise performance out of a very young player that is going to step up big time this year, and that is Benedict Mathurin, dropping 36 points and 11 rebounds on the defending champs, Oklahoma City. Where would you rank that performance?
Now, Mathurin, I mean, we were talking about most improved player. I think it's a good bet at this point of the year to bet on an Indiana Pacers player to win most improved player. Whether it's Benedict Mathurin, whether it's Andrew Neesmith, whether it's Nemhard, whether it's Obi Toppin off the bench, all of them have looked like they're ready to take a leap and make up for Tyrese Halliburton's absence. Mathurin in particular looked outstanding, but again, we're looking at this box score now. 17 free throws on the night. Mathurin actually shot below 50% from the field and from the three-point line. He had 4 turnovers. He fouled out, and his team ended up losing the game. Great performance from Mathurin, but I'm going to have to put it at 5.
All right, I like the logic there involving the team success and also fouling out. I think that definitely hurts your team. He was the leading scorer that night for the Pacers, though, and one of the only reasons that game made it to overtime.
And he was a leading plus minus. And in fact, he was only one of 3 players on the Pacers who finished with a positive plus minus, showing that he was absolutely crucial for his team's success on the floor. But I mean, when we were comparing it to a Giannis 30-20 game and a Luka 49-point win, like, I'm sorry, Mathurin, you got to at least win to be in the conversation of that, and you were just
all right. So we're going to now talk about another guy that lost, and that's the opening night performance from Alperen Şengün. 39 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists for Şengün, who absolutely balled out on opening night against the Thunder, and they ended up losing by 1 in double overtime. So right now you have 1 and 3 left. Where are you going to slide this one at?
Well, I can't put it at 1. I can't justify a loss being better than Luka's 49-point win, so it's going to have to be 3. One thing I want to say is the Rockets start off 0-2. However, I am not concerned about their team at all. Kevin Durant has looked like he's integrated seamlessly. There's looked like there's just been some rust that they've had to knock off, especially among the young players. But Şengün has looked like an all-star. Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. I'm not concerned about the Houston Rockets' 2 loss. They were both close and competitive.
Yeah.
But in terms of the ranking, Şengün, I mean, if I could re-rank this, I would put Giannis above Şengün's just because Giannis has also came in a win. But I cannot put Şengün at 1. Therefore, he's got to go at 3. I need one of these two. I need either Wemby's 40-point game or Aaron Gordon's 50-point game. One of those two needs to be this final one, and I will be happy with this ranking.
You should know me better than that. Who do you think I put here? The GOAT.
Okay, do you put Steph Curry?
Steph Curry's 42-point performance, which included 16 straight points in the fourth quarter and overtime to absolutely resurrect his team.
Single-digit free throws, too, for the record.
Absolute stud.
I don't know how many he finished with. However, he doesn't get calls, so I'm betting it was single digits.
He had 42 points. He had only, let's see.
6 rebounds, 7 assists, 8 of 8 from the free throw line, 3 steals, 1 block, plus 15 from the field, shooting 50% from 3 and over 50% from the field. I don't hate that game being my number 1. I would put, if I could re-rank it, I would put Luka at 1, Steph at 2. But at the end of the day, I'm just happy Mathurin was not at number 1 because that would have butchered these rankings.
Yeah, that would have. Steph's performance, too. I remember watching that game live. I was just blown away. 2 game-tying threes back-to-back after Aaron Gordon drills the supposed dagger. Steph just comes back. Logo 3. Insane.
And Luka's stats might look better, but those clutch shots that Steph had, I mean, I would give him the best performance so far this season just because of those clutch shots. That was electric. That was so fun to watch. And like I said, Warriors are up. Watch out for Golden State again this year.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been saying that every year for the last decade. But.
Yeah, and that's a great spot to end. Thank you guys so much for listening to our opening week review of the NBA. We are so excited. The season has got off to a better start than I think either one of us could have imagined. and we are looking forward to reacting and reviewing the rest of the season with y'all. So we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Peace.